Hi YouTube, my name's Bear Harry, PNG tuber of Bear, soon to be something else in the future maybe. Anyways, I'm here to be reacting to Who Are the Storm Wardens by Mr.bones 40k. Link will be in the description. Alrighty, let's watch this video. Let's do a react.
Uh, Hi, I'm Arthur, and this is part 16 in a 20-part series I am doing covering the all-star chapters of Space Marines. These are the dudes.
That's good to know. 20 parts. Let's take a look at that. So let's see what this one's about.
That play a significant role in the setting, the history, or just, I don't know, the world of 40k. Fan requested, baked in an oven at 450 and served with a red wine demi-glaze. Do you need to have sampled every course prior to this? No, but it is tasty, and it would make me happy. And I'm hungry. Hi, everyone. Fun fact about me.
Hi.
In fact, a nerd. A nerdy nerd. The biggest nerd who ever
I'm
got
up there
this here.
too.
I'm killing this bit. Okay, so what I'm
I'm
failing
nerdy
to
too.
segue into is I like all things associated with niche culture. I think it was obvious from the fact I like 40k and horror and have YouTube channels dedicated to both. But in general, I also love tabletop RPGs. They are one of the earliest hobbies I ever got into and have been running D&D games pretty much off and on consistently.
Yeah, tabletop RPGs are fun. I've experienced a little bit, very tiny amount. I'd love to experience some more at some point, hopefully, in my life. But no, I got super deep into D&D. I got a lot of the books. Never again, I didn't play it much, but I made characters and obviously Critical Role helped with that. But and also a bunch of other Brett Ultimus's channel. I know there's a new channel about 40k. So let's continue with the video. But that's cool. Common nerdiness.
Most of my life, almost 20 years now. God, I'm old. So when that comes to mind, you gotta ask, how are the tabletop RPGs of 40k? As there are many, and I gotta say, as someone who has played a lot of them, they fuck hard, and I like
Ooh.
them. Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, Only War, and one that is especially relevant today, Death Watch. The systems are pretty fun and easy to pick up. It's a D100 system, and it's actually way easier to understand than you'd expect. But yeah, nothing
I see
feels
Deathwatch being
better
a good
when you
tabletop game.
realize in the Space Marine game specifically that you can only treat an enemy as a threat if there are 10 or more, and you can only fight them in multiples of 10. Other than that, they just kind of aren't gonna do anything to you except throw rocks at you. God, that game is awesome. But regardless, if you played any or all of these, the name of the Calixtus sector comes up quite a lot. And in that sector is where pretty much all the RPGs take place. It is kind of the Wild West where you can find anything and everything from enslavers, put a pin in that, to tyrannids, to us. The best part about the sector is that it has a wealth of region-specific factions, like the Maccabian Janissaries, the Brontian Long Knives, and the topic of today, the chapter Space Marines we know simply as the Storm Wardens. So sit back, grab your popcorn, grab your
I don't have
great sword,
popcorn.
and let Arthur
No.
teach you about one of the more interesting but less spoken about chapters in the setting. But before we do, we have a sponsor that I have not spoken about for quite some time. But if you know me well enough,
Drop
you
your
know that
sponsor,
I
Grit. Let's
adore
go.
them
Or not
so
drop.
much. Ladies and
Talk
gentlemen,
about. There you go.
Starforged merchandise.
I've heard good things
Producing
about
the best
Starforged.
40k merch in the game, Starforged is back again, and my goodness, does it feel so good. If you have seen me in person at any events that I attend, I usually have one of their Krieg backpacks adorned with numerous different pins and whatnot from them, so I can vouch for the quality. And speaking of quality, and also related to the topic at hand today, Starforged has a wide array of chapter brooches that you can wear like me on your backpack or on your shirt with pride at your local tourney. I recommend the Ultramarines brooch one for obvious reasons. Show courage and or honor in the face of the Tau gun lines that you are going to have to deal with in the coming edition that is going going to blow you off the table. Likely turn 1. Either way, click my link in the description and use code 2026 Mr.bones 40k with a period, I'd mind
Follow
you,
that.
and
Do that,
get
chat.
8% off whatever you
Or
purchase.
YouTube, I
Though, as
guess.
I said already, I do highly recommend the Ultramarines brooch, as it would be basically your first true step into being a true Blueberry fan. Thanks to Star Force for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the Storm Wardens. To say the Storm Wardens are underappreciated in the fan base is actually a surprising understatement. My selection size may be a bit small because I am but a single man, but you know, I asked around my community to see what everybody's favorite Space Marine chapter was and if they knew specific ones. I poll them every now and then just to kind of see what the average individual thinks, and none of them really knew the Storm Wardens except for like maybe 2, I think, which is sad, and I hate that because, well, they are also very weird. They have quite a lot of lore, though to be fair, I think their lore is mostly from the perspective of the RPGs more so than anything else, which I gotta say, I read them because it's my job and I play the games themselves because I think it's fun, and also I go above and beyond for this. But did you guys?
I believe
no,
it.
I doubt you did. I bet you read the wiki to learn about the Brontean long knives or the Maccabi and
Yes.
Janissaries, or God help you, Savlar's cam dogs. Are any of you guys reading the untapped lore of the RPGs? There is a lot of wacky nonsense that goes on in them. Jokes aside, it is a bit of a hard sell for the average lore fan to even just read a full-ass book. I know more people who collect them than read them. It's an even harder ask for them to
listen to books.
read the RPG books for the lore, so I get it. Thus, why I am here to teach you. So, who are the Storm Wardens? They are
Yes,
a chapter
please.
of unknown founding and unknown lineage, though I personally assume it's either Gilliman or the Khan, that come from the swampy planet of Sacris in the Calexis sector, obviously. They are known for being weirdly taciturn and stoic, but also kind of, you know, surprisingly quiet about anything involving them, even to the Greater Imperium. Fighting often in a respectful and honorable silence, doing honor duels with basically a glance, but are also known to take slights against their honor very much to heart. Not so much like Howling Griffins level bad, but it is kind of close. They are a bit of a mysterious chapter as well, not really ever breaking out of their sector to communicate with the Imperium as a whole, and instead showing up, dealing with whatever problem is under their purview, which usually means the fucking Halo stars of all places, and then moving on. This experience often puts them into contact with a bunch of aliens that not many people know how to deal with, meaning they are prime candidates for service in the Death Watch. Fun fact, if you know, my research is correct, and if, you know, the people that I'm citing have, you know, stated this correctly, they have one of the highest accounts of recruitment for the Death Watch.
Really?
Even, like, compared to someone like the Crimson Fist, who have the highest of, like, a second founding chapter. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, they join the Death Watch because they see it as a way to hone their skills and fight greater and greater opponents, as honor duels and fighting incredibly strong opponents is very important to them. There is a lot of secrecy surrounding the chapter. They have a lot of history that has actually been canonically wiped away, or at least sealed, so they can go kind of unseen. They even have a blockade set up around Sacris that if you ignore it, you don't get a second warning. You get the warning of, hey, back up, turn around, and if you disagree, well, then the Thunderhawk gunship you didn't notice is going to round the corner and blast you out of the sky, regardless of how many vessels you brought. This kind of led to them having this reputation of being a trusted protector of the Imperium, but often one that people don't enjoy the company of. So, while the secrecy? Why is everything so confusing?
Great image.
Them, even if they are a bit of a straightforward to understand chapter just by looking at them? Well, they're one of those chapters that kind of did that deal with the devil trope once upon a time, and they try to keep that secret under wraps. Now, which devil was it? Was it some alien race from the Halo stars? Was it a chaos god? Was it all of the chaos gods? Nope, worse. It was the Inquisition. A lot of the culture is a blend of the culture of sacrifice,
not the Inquisition.
Fuck up that had to do with something so extreme that they had to make a deal with the Inquisition, and it now permanently stains their lives. So what was it, and how bad was it? Well, it was the Nemesis incident, and remember when I said to put a pin in the enslavers for later? Well, yeah, they come into focus now.
Gross.
So let's get into what this incident was, shall we? So, calling this situation an incident is kind of like calling the voice acting in Chaos Wars a little bit on the bad side. A gross oversimplification of what's actually going on here. The short end was there was a cluster of. The fuck are you looking at? Yes, I made a Chaos Wars reference
Hi.
in the year of our Lord 2026. Leave me the fuck alone. I miss Shadow Hearts as a game franchise and wish I could have some kind of sequel to it that wasn't goddamn Chaos Wars. Yes, I think about that game series almost daily, and no, I haven't played Expedition
Daily.
33. Leave me alone. For like the three of you who got anything of what I just said, Gungrave, that's all. Also, leave a comment so I can point at you and shriek like a Pod People from Pod People, or whatever the movie was called. Man, that was a hell of a digression. Whatever. Yeah, the Storm Wardens were asked to assist the Inquisition in eradicating an infestation of the enslavers, which is never fun. That ended up
What
taking
the?
over a
I don't like what they
small
look like.
cluster of planets in their domain. Now, that might sound like a job for a space marine, but it's actually more of a job
Broody.
for a cyclonic torpedo. Yeah, there is a reason why the enslavers are considered one of the worst monstrosities and threats in the universe. They are pretty damn bad. How they work is they are one of the rare instances of a Xeno that lives in the warp. What they do is they find a host, usually an unwilling psyker, and implant their larva into the person's brain. Once
Yeah.
mature, they use their psychic gifts to rip a hole in reality and allow more of these gigantic evil bug monsters to fly into real space. This allows them to infest the brains of other people and take control of them, thus the name enslavers. I believe it's stated that psychers are the ones that they use for reproduction of their race, and non-psychers are just meat puppets they use to do evil things. I don't know, man. A little more backstory and a bit of a fun lore tidbit in the Halo Star section that the Storm Wardens kind of govern, and the Calixtus sector in general, there is a buttload of warp storms. These, on the most benign side of things, make it so that some planets have to go around them in order to get to the locations they need to go to, and slightly increase the birth rates of psychic children in the nearby planets. On the worst side of things, enslaver infestations. So yeah, this is where I believe the Storm Wardens actually got their name. They are a chapter dedicated to fighting through warp storms to save planets in the midst of these kinds of apocalypses. Thus the name, which is pretty cool. So, to
That's
get
cool.
back to the Nemesis incident, we truly don't know how it went down. There's a reason, and we'll cover that a little bit later in the aftermath, but basically the truth of the matter is that the enslavers were wiped out from these planets, likely through cyclonic torpedoes, exterminatus, and a whole lot of swearing in Latin. The Storm Wardens, trying their hardest to fight in the traditional way, led to the deaths of hundreds of their brothers and the injury of even more, but worse yet, the infection of pretty much the entire First Company, as well as the current chapter master. The Inquisition recommended euthanasia by bolt guns, but the chapter master Owen Glenmere,
Inquisition,
yes, his name was Owen, suggested something different, that the members of the First Company, for their valor in the service, get sealed away in stasis caskets in the fortress monastery of the Storm Wardens on Sacris, guarded by the dreadnought ancients of the chapter, who take up a vow of silence to only protect
That
these
seems like
stasis
a
caskets
dangerous
until
thing to
the
do.
day that they can be cured from their buggy fate. The myth goes that they shall likely return on the darkest day, with their chapter master leading the charge. Now, it is kind of up in the air if this is true, because one, a side note of this was that the chapter had to erase its entire history as a part of the deal with the Inquisition, removing their lineage, their gene sire, their successor, like history, just everything prior to that date. And two, the only record they were allowed to keep was a set of tomes that were transcribed by the oldest
They had to get
living
rid of
librarian, who's actually on death.
They had to get rid of everything they were connected to. And Space Marines, that's big. Like, that's like a pride portion of being like, I'm from blah, blah, blah gene seed, or I'm from blah, blah, blah gene seed. And erasing that, making it truly deal the devil with the Inquisition. Ugh.
Death's door because he did survive the Nemesis incident, but was fatally wounded. Now, he had enough years left in him while he was slowly dying to some kind of bug wound that he was able to actually give the history of the chapter to other librarians who transcribed it into numerous different tomes. Now, the problem here is that, for some reason, these books, which were like a multi-tome series of books, they varied insanely in the facts, so much so that it felt like an act of willful sabotage, either perpetrated by the Inquisition, Chaos, or or just some guy who thought it'd be funny. So it took centuries to sort through the various different books, and by asking other older librarians what was the most likely and which one was likely the one that happened, we got the most correct instance of events, and that was a massive series of books known as the Liber Tempest, and they basically just had the
Oh,
entire
that's
chapter's
cute.
history in it that we think happened. The other books
That's
were
dope.
sealed away and given
That's
different
cute.
titles because they were all apocryphal, which is a very fun word to say. So, their history burned away by an outside organization, and wait, this is starting to sound familiar. Why is this pinging a nerve in the back of my brain? Wait a sec. They use power claymores. They fight for swamps. They have an incredibly distrusting nature towards outsiders. Their history was annihilated by Latin-speaking wackadoos. They have a strong emphasis on clan culture, staying within the clans of their community, rather than mingling with others. Wait, the colors of these dudes are... Oh, sweet lord, they're Scottish. The Stormwardens are
Scotland!
joke. Wait, this can't be a thing. Wait, they can't just do this. Wait, the chapter master being sealed in the high mountains of Sacris. This is just a reference to the Irish myth of Finn McCall. Dude, this is... Wait, no, this is starting to make too much sense. How did I not notice this by now? Their colors are literally just the flag of Scotland turned into a marine. Every single marine with the helmet off looks like a bald-shaved man with a blue face tattoo.
I should have
or
known.
he's like me, bald with a brownish, reddish, blondish beard. I feel
my.
so dumb for not seeing this until halfway.
With that image especially, I should have known.
Yeah, no, this is what they are. They are in fact just a Scottish... Well, I guess Scots-Irish, as a lot of it also ties to, like, Irish Celtic myth, which is kind of awesome. So, yeah, fun fact, I'm mostly Scottish by heritage, but also a little bit of Irish on my mother's side. So, you have a little bit of pride in my history, so I don't know why I didn't notice this. It's why I felt weird reading about these guys, because it all felt kind of familiar. I just never noticed it until
It all
now,
felt
which makes
familiar.
me feel a bit like a big thicky bobo, but whatever. I mean, if Birmingham can have their own Marines whose logo is just a bunch of knives, then I guess we can have the blue and white Scottish flag, boys. Anyhow, after the Nemesis incident, the chapter actually went on to serve with distinction, but a lot more privately, likely due to their nature and the Inquisition keeping them to secrecy. This is why they show up, annihilate whatever bad guys are there, and then move on. Very cool of them. It's been thousands of years since the Nemesis incident, and because there isn't anyone who can recount it, the incident has gone into myth and likely evolved over time due to the various interpretations from the various books. They serve with distinction and are pretty cool. With the brief rundown of their history down, let's break into their tactics, chapter organization, and recruitment methods, as that last one is kind of notorious, as it can only be described as
hit you and hope you die. I
like
like playing toys.
Yeah, no, that's the descriptor we're going with. The Stormwardens have a bit of a no-nonsense sense of tactics, except for one part, which is a little bit of
What's that red? What?
Just like a little small percentage of goofiness, but yeah, we'll get there. Basically, they strike usually as a whole chapter to deal with the threat.
That armor looks dope as hell. What the hell?
Thunderhawk raids, etc., that kind of stuff. Then they ram through using land raiders, rhinos, demolisher, cannon, whatever's into position. And once everybody has been pinned and the fellas Tokyo drifting into frame have found their position in the crater that they want to get to, this is kind of the end stage of their tactics, or at least you'd think, because this is just to get their best troops into position, because once the land raiders park, the doors open and out come the veteran squads to be the least dangerous part of a highly explosive spear tip, which should be fucking harrowing to you, due to them being Stern Guard vets as well as Tempest Blades. Who are the Tempest Blades? Well, I'm so glad you asked. They are basically a micro-company group that was formed in the first company. Think of them like the Victrix Guard in the Ultramarines, but also, for some reason, screaming Scotland forever while hefting a power claim that is about 7 feet long. Fun fact about these dudes, the Tempest Blades and the Stormwardens as a whole hold the concept of honor and dignity so high on their list that if the Tempest Blades or a member of them engages in single combat with an enemy, even if he is losing and it would cost you the battle, no no one can interfere, as it is a matter of honor. So, these
Honor.
dudes, much like every other blue successor chapter, tend to be a bit melee focused, using the initial bombardment of their assault as more of a staging ground.
I like
Think
how
of
the
it like
armor
Cell from
looks.
Dragon Ball Z blasting apart the ground to make the arena for the Cell games, kind of like that. Once the majority of the city center is a parking lot, that's when the real fun begins. Culturally, it makes sense. Sacris being a swampy shithole populated by mythological monstrosities like fen trolls and, I don't know, probably Cazadors from New Vegas to make it especially fun for the youths. The Storm
Not
Wardens
the
are a big party
Cazadors.
bunch who know how to and when to complain in the funniest but most sardonic way possible. But they also know when to fight. Their recruitment is kind of funny because it's basically just a bunch of Highland games followed by the fucking Death March from Hell. Like, only the strongest boys from any of the clans can attempt it, but once they have finished the games, they begin their pilgrimage through the land of Sacris, through swamps that have been described as having gas that could strip the skin off of space marines, to forests which contain eldritch Celtic monsters that, much like most Celtic myth, usually ends with them abducting children to drown them for some reason, or I guess food maybe, all the way to them
Scary
making it to the
stories to
high
keep children
mountain
in
of
bed.
the fortress monastery for the Storm Wardens. One last trial awaits, and it's a trial by combat to see who shows the most promise. Now, it isn't stated that they take all of the boys, some of the boys, one of the boy who wins the little impromptu tournament, or just the ones that show the
When
most
you're a
promise in
special
combat
boy.
alone. But I will state, unlike a lot of chapters, failure at this stage is actually seen as genuinely an okay thing, because you literally went the distance, and the children who get back to the village are considered heroes or great leaders in the making. They also see children being taken into the chapter as a great honor as they become heroes. Thus, a tradition is that when a child is taken into the ranks of the Storm Wardens
Claymore. I need to
Adeptus
read
Astartes, they
and
are
watch
often
that.
given a Sacris Claymore
Claymore
from the
seems
family
cool.
of the boys to take with them. It's an heirloom and important to the clans, so it is often taken, and if the boy becomes a full-fledged Space Marine, it is turned into a power sword, which is apparently pretty damn useful for how they fight. The ties to their homeworld almost rivals that of the Salamanders in a lot of ways, weirdly because of this. Because upon death, if the boy, now Space Marine, has any living relatives, the Claymore is returned to the family as a testament to their lineage's heroism, which is pretty cool. In terms of organization, the chapter is pretty much just codex compliant. They have a chapter master, librarians, apothecaries, you name it, 10 companies, the whole shebang. It's pretty basic. Though the first company after the whole Nemesis incident was renamed to the Inheritors, so I guess that's kind of neat, I think. So to add a bit of speculation, I gotta say, there is no shot that these guys are anything but Ultramarine descendants. And no, I'm not just saying that because they're blue, though that does play a part. They have
His neck
courage,
looks
honor,
so
and a strong adherence
thick.
to duty. They have compassion when they need it, and stoicism when not. They are pragmatic, even willing to make deals with the Inquisition to save members of
And
their
look
own
at that
chapter
little
when killing off
mechanics
their own members
dude.
would make more sense, which I think is very telling of them. Even though they are a bit of a Scottish meme of a chapter, they are pretty damn fun. Like, unironically, when I was first getting into the hobby, the first real chapter that I played and painted out an entire army for were the Emperor's Spears. This is because they had a strong tie to Celtic myth and that kind of heritage. So seeing that there is in fact a diet version of them out there that just replaces the jungle tribesmen with swamp clansmen makes me very happy, and I think that they're very cool for that. I think that these guys need more rep, because outside of the RPGs, I don't think there's any books that have them. I could be wrong. There's probably like an anthology book out there that has at least 1 or 2 Storm Wardens doing Scottish shit in it, but in general, I genuinely have no idea. Maybe we'll find out in a future book where their lineage actually comes from, or why it's stored away, or why they do secret missions for the Inquisition every now and then, because that's kind of cool. Though I feel like it is just a plot hook for
They
a
probably
D&D
are owed.
GM to add to whatever Death Watch game they're running. So, with that being said, what do you all think of the Storm Wardens? Do you think they're an all-star deserving of this spot, or no? I think having some rep of the RPGs is very important, because if not, well, what else do you want me to talk about? The Praetors of Ruin? You know that, Warman? Yeah, I didn't think so. Either way, thanks again for watching.
Hey, look, I'm right next to
check
him.
out my second channel, which
We're
the link
hanging
is
out. We're
going to be
buddies.
in the description. And a special thanks to my channel members for supporting me. With your help,
Oh, wait.
I am able to do this full time.
Watch this, man. This was good. Thank you, YouTube, for watching. Please, if you can, not just subscribe to me, but subscribe to him. But subscribe to Mr.bones, 40K. He made a great video. I am probably definitely going to react to more because I always like hearing niche or smaller chapters or other stuff. And please support the channel, support the video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in the future. Bye bye.